scientist as well. Dr. Raja Sriswan Mamidi is a doctor and a scientist. He is working at the premier institute in India. It's called the National Institute of Nutrition. He has acquired medical degree and then joined as a scientist, which is not normal. There are very, very few cases that you can think of. And for all of you, you know Dr. Kalasapudi. She also joined in the same institute as a scientist like him long time back in 1983 and worked at NIN both as a physician as well as a scientist. Dr. Sriswan Raja, Dr. Kalasapudi is the founder of India Home and running, and they all know her very well. Now coming back to Dr. Sriswan Raja, he has experience in maternal, child, nutrition, and published more than 25 papers, scientific journals. And he has contributed quite well for what India eats. I have asked him to come and talk to you because you all eat not only what is available here, but mostly what India eats. That's the reason why I thought he'll be a wonderful addition to our guest list and your knowledge about the current scientific understanding of Indian foods. And he also is a very active member of the Poshan Abhiyan, the latest Government of India's program. And this is a huge program that I know some parts, but I would like to listen from him as well. But today's topic is definitely for you eating well and being healthy. And malnutrition is not only a problem of the children. Anyone who doesn't eat properly will have malnutrition problem. Therefore, I requested him to come and present to us about malnutrition with a focus on seniors and nutrition for living well and aging well. With that, I welcome Dr. Sriswan Raja Mamidi to present. If you have any presentation, please let us know. We'll share you can share the screen. Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. It's been a great pleasure knowing you for the last couple of months when you came to India. And I was always enthusiastic by people like you who being an Indian, staying in America and doing something good for the Indian society. And that's something I always cherish, people who go far away from their homeland, yet always contribute back. And that's all about all I can say about you, sir. And I'm very happy to be here as a part of the community which you have organized, starting with a beautiful song, Papa Kehte Hai. I mean, that's a classic song of Amir Khan, who is my favorite actor. And it's always good to have a kind of entertainment before we eat. It's always called entertainment for many people, and for eating. And if you know how to eat well, then your entertainment is much more blissful as well. So I'm just here to tell what is nutrition and well-being in the broad context of especially old age people, and how you could actually improve your nutrition and therefore your well-being. Even before that, when you can see the image I've shown you, this is the planetary boundaries. We talk about how our Earth, the food systems, and our health boundaries. It is such that our health is also dependent on the planetary boundaries, that is a planet health, and the planet health is also dependent on how we eat. Therefore, the food systems come into play. So this is what is all about the One Health concept that has been recently introduced, that how we eat well also reflects on how the environment happens to be in the long run. Whether we want global warming, more more natural calamities, is how we eat, because food contributes to a large amount of global warming, as you all know about it. But even before that, when we talk about food, and we know that COVID pandemic has come with a food consumption. I mean, that's something ironic that we say that when you talk about COVID pandemic, it has started with a transmission from animals to humans, which we're actually consuming. I mean, that's the irony of this whole story about. And when you look at the indirect and direct effects of the pandemic, they're very far-reaching and has impacted our lives in more ways than one. So there is no question the pandemic has brought a lot of misery. At the same time, we have come out of it, so I don't want to dwell too much about it. Evidence clearly suggests that the pandemic has affected both the overnutrition, especially in developed countries, by staying indoors, by less physical activity and work from home, has made overnutrition a risk factor, and also undernutrition, lack of access to food, unemployment. All these have resulted in the dual burden of malnutrition, as we all call about it. So, has COVID pandemic impacted the health? I just wanted to know that, as when you talk about elderly, especially, I always want to emphasize the role of COVID pandemic that has disrupted elderly life, and not just elderly life, but all ages. You look at the annualized death rate in January 15. That is the normal baseline year, you could call, till December 17 or even February 19. You could see the green line there, which I can point out to here. It's about roughly 8 per 1,000 people. That's how the death rates usually happen in India. This is from the Arvind Subramanian paper in 2021. But you can see once the pandemic has started, especially in April 20, you could see the wave 1 and also the wave 2. It's almost double, or in fact, tripling in some instances. So almost it has come to 18 per 1,000. So that's the impact of pandemic in India. And I'm pretty sure that this is even more worse in US. I mean, I've seen the amount of mortality rates which has actually been reported to the population. It is one of the highest. Surely, pandemic has caused a lot of misery in developed countries, especially US and UK. And if you look at the risk of infection, is starting, for example, compared to a reference year role of 18 to 29, whom to these population, you could look, the chance of we getting infection is almost same. So there's no difference. So whether you're old age or young age, the chance of you getting infection is almost same, except for children less than 0 to 5 years. Except for this age group, most of us have equal chance of getting infection. But once we get an infection, the chance of hospitalization is almost 15 times 85 years old and above, and 9 times in 75 to 84 years old, and almost 6 times above 65 years, which is the group we are talking about. So it's a huge rates of hospitalizations. And just go from the next step from hospitalization to deaths, it's almost 600 times. So that's the impact of COVID on elderly. And I feel, sometimes I feel depressed that why it is happening, or especially for the elderly, when a lot of there are other problems as well. But that has been the fate of this generation. If you look at malnutrition as a risk factor for COVID, it is the elderly and people with chronic illness and comorbidities, such as cardiovascular diseases, cancer, diabetes, and hypertension. So these are all the risk factors, especially as you age, the chance of these comorbidities also increase. Therefore, you're at more increased risk of severe illness and mortality. So for the first time in this setting of Earth, we also see that non-communicable diseases also play a major role in the disease outcome of a communicable disease, that is a virus. When you typically talk about communicable diseases, we talk about wash practices, we talk about a spoof food, but in this case, our comorbidities itself has been a major role in how we actually react to the virus and how much severe illness and mortality it can cause. Therefore, countries with high prevalence of overweight had higher mortality rates compared to low middle income countries. When you talk about citizens in the United States, the population you stay there in your homes, the old age homes, these were the maximum deaths that have happened actually. So low immunity can be due to poor nutrition. That is, we all know that it's a vicious cycle, that low immunity can be due to poor nutrition. Similarly, poor nutrition can also lead to increased risk of infection. So this is a vicious cycle of malnutrition. So I had to start, unfortunately, with the pandemic because that's where we are actually coming out. So because of good vaccinations, it has been good. But nevertheless, we have to reflect on the past so that the lessons learned from the pandemic can be impacted better in how we eat and how we move forward with nature in full glory. You can see this U-shaped mortality here when you talk about the body mass index, which I was talking about, the obesity. BMI less than, and see the reflections on critical illness, how BMI is related to critical illness once you contract COVID-19, and about the fatal illness, that is the death. So you could see that with the pandemic, you could see that it is a U-shaped curve for both a critical illness and fatal illness, which means people with low BMI, that is less than 18.5. So BMI is nothing but weight per height square, weight in kilos by height in meter square. It's a very simple. Once you can go to Google and type your weight and height, it automatically gives you BMI. So it's very simple calculator. So if you know that BMI, if it is less than 18.5, you're suffering from chronic energy deficiency. That means you're too thin. Or if you're more than 30, you're obese. So this is how we define. So at both extremes, you can see the critical illness is almost jumping. So so around 23 to 25, you have a reference point. So the lower your BMI, the higher risk of critical illness. Similarly, the higher your BMI, also the critical illness. So you need to be somewhere around 25. That is the critical point. This is similar with the fatal illness, where you could see that it's also again a U-shaped curve. So higher the obesity, the chance of deaths are higher, almost 5 times. Even low BMI, again, the chance of death are high. So always ensure that your BMI is optimal. It's a very simple indicator and can be easily measured by anyone. So it's just weight. You need to have a good weighing scale, of course, but height, you can always take a proper measurement whenever you go to clinic. And of course, heights do not change much, but in elderly population, because of your bone loss, you will actually lose some height. So whatever height was there, if you peak 40 years, you'll be losing slowly because of bone erosion. Therefore, older the same height which you were in 40 years, you'll be around about 1 centimeter lower, roughly at 80 years. So that's the difference you get, 0.1 to 2 centimeters per every decade. And if you look at how COVID has impacted iron deficiency, what is its relationship, and you can see, especially in low middle income countries, and especially with elderly who have trouble of excess, good iron and absorption. So iron deficiency is also a leading risk factor for COVID-19. So this is very important that we eat properly and have a nutritious diet. So when you talk about the pathway on how you have compromised immune function, especially in adults, you can start always with a poor diet here. And the poor diet is, again, especially if you're doing restricted diet, if you're sedentary lifestyle, you have hectic, stressful lifestyle, you're eating fast foods or lack of fresh, nutritious foods, all these lead to suboptimal nutrition status and compromised immune function, which is resulting in increased risk of infection. Of course, in India, if you're a resident of Delhi, we always check the pollution levels. And if you have smoking habit, then also if you have any chronic stress, both physical and psychological, if you have sleep disturbance, and of course, excessive alcohol consumption or prolonged excessive exercise, again, they all lead to compromised immune function. So these are very important for you to actually have a healthy lifestyle so that you have good diet and good physical activity that can improve your immune function and thereby chances of reduced risk of infection. Having said that, I think my topic for today's is about the balanced diet, the healthy diet. So balanced diet includes wholesome and varied diet that includes all the food groups, so that can enable a good immune function. So when I say all the food groups, all you need to remember is the 3 major food group categories. The first group is always the energy-rich foods. So we have to remember that there are 3 food categories. The first is the energy-rich food category, which is foods rich in energy. That gives energy are the cereals and millets. We all know that what we eat, for example, rice, wheat, millets, these are all like bajra, jowar, raji. So basically, we eat them in large quantities because they give energy. But because that's a major function of the body that we need to, for us to survive, we need first energy. Therefore, we consume cereals more because for that. Similarly, we also get energy from fats and oils. So I'll describe what is fat and oil more detail. But fats and oils are also energy-rich foods. And in fact, the energy coming from fat and oil per 1 gram is almost twice. for example, you're thin and you're unable to eat your daily calorie requirements, all you need to do is just increase the energy density of the food you're consuming. So that energy density will be almost double. So just adding a teaspoon of ghee, oil, groundnut oil, whatever it is, it almost doubles the energy of your food. So that's how you can actually improve your BMI. And of course, sugars. We talk about jaggery, sugar cane, sugars, added sugars. So sugar is carbohydrate, pure carbohydrate, and giving only 4 kilocalories of energy. So this is also rich in energy. Of course, we don't recommend sugars as a major staple, but we are all used to it because of its taste. The next is the bodybuilding foods. This is the second food group we have. The bodybuilding foods, we have majorly, I would say, 5 categories. The first is the poor man's protein, that is pulses and legumes. So in India, this is what we, I think if you have been in India before and traveled back to US, you all know that a major staple for protein has always been pulses and legumes. And it still is in most populations in India. This is a vegetable, it's a vegetarian protein, but also a cheaper protein for masses that can consume and is available all the dry rations so that you can store them in your home. So this is a good source of protein. So you should always remember that a combination of cereals and pulses is a good quality protein. Still, we can further improve the quality of protein by adding milk and milk products, which is also vegetarian protein. In the sense that most vegetarians, it's not a vegetarian protein, but it's a animal protein consumed by most vegetarians. That's what I meant. So milk and milk products is usually the third food. If at all we consume protein by vegetarians, this is the main source of protein. We also have eggs, which is rich source of protein and is also especially given in government programs because of its durability compared to fresh foods, which have to be stored in the fridge or has to have a cold storage facility for it to be healthy or for clean. So we need to store them properly, unlike eggs, which can be stored in room temperature for a certain period of time. So that's the advantage of eggs, therefore, is being given in government programs. So these are the 5 bodybuilding foods you should need to remember. And the third one is the productive foods. The productive foods, there are 2 categories here. One is the colored fruits and vegetables. This is all the fruits and vegetables we talk about, but we should not include especially the tubers, the roots in this category because they come under the energy-rich foods. We can also include nuts and oil seeds here so that they also become productive foods. So I'll be delving them and how to consume, how much to consume, and what is the ideal way. Even before that, NIN has developed My Plate for the Day. How should a plate look like in your terms of dry rations? So you can look at it's a colorful plate. The most important factor is the left side. So consumption of vegetables and fruits, they contribute half of your food intake per day. That's the healthy food. One of the healthiest foods is to consume a lot of vegetables and fruits. That is 350 grams and 150 grams of fruits and vegetables every day. That's 500 grams of fruits and vegetables every day. And of course, cereals and millets for 240 kilocalories. 240 grams. This is for a 2000 kilocalorie plate. So we're talking about this is a plate for 2000 kilocalories. So typically around the typical Indian RDA for a 60 kg oil, this is the ideal plate. And we can see that for fats and oils, it is about 27 grams, and nuts and seeds about 30 grams, and pulses, eggs and fresh foods altogether 90 grams, and milk about 300 ml. So this is a plate derived based on RDA, previous RDA, and this is how we recommend to the Indian population. So if you look at this plates contributions, each components and how much energy they give. When I talk about energy, it's what we require for daily survival. So cereals contribute to maximum energy. So if we say 240 grams, so it gives almost 800 kilocalories and almost 40% of your energy coming. So cereals and millets almost contribute to 40% of your energy. And we have pulses about 90 grams, which contribute, again, this is majorly for protein, but still pulses are also a rich source of energy. So they contribute about 17% of your total energy and almost 340 kilocalories. Again, you can see that fats and oils at the bottom, they contribute the third most highest energy, about 27 grams. That is roughly about 1 liter per person per month. So 30 ml into 30 days is about 900 ml. So roughly it's 1 liter. It's easy to remember in terms of rounding of figures. So 1 liter per person per day is what we recommend in terms of oil. You can see nuts. We always say it's 30 grams of nuts. It's a 1 fistful of nuts we talk about. So whatever comes in a fist, we say that is roughly about 30 grams. And of course, we have 500 grams of fruits and vegetables, which is 350 grams of vegetables, including green leaf vegetables, and 150 grams of fruits. Milk is 300 ml. This is what we have recommended, that 300 ml of milk, especially for vegetarian protein, vegetarian populations who do not eat meat. So therefore, we have 300 ml of milk is being recommended. This is the plate for the Indian population living in India. Of course, we also have a global diet. This is the Eat Lancet, based on a diet that is not only good for the human health, but also good for the environmental health. So in this case, the total calories is for this plate is for 2,500 kilocalories. So whereas the Indian diet is for 2,000 kilocalories, this is for 2,500 kilocalories. So we have two different plates, but almost giving same values. You look at the global Eat Lancet Commission plate here. First, you could talk about the whole grains. So so it's about 232 grams they recommend. So when you talk about their global diet, especially in US, you have a lot of corn available, wheat available. Of course, rice is the South Indian staple, and also other foods. So they have to contribute. So it's roughly 232 kilocalories and about 800 kilocalories of energy per day. The next is separated is the tubers or starchy vegetables. So they have classified it separately, giving potatoes and cassava. So it can be as low as 0. So even if it is 0, it's good. That's what they say. So when I say for some people, especially not for, because it's you can always replace them with whole grains. So that's what is the indication here. So this is also contributes. So this is not more than 100 grams. This is 0 to 100. This is a possible range we give so that people can be a little more flexible. So they gave about 39 kilocalories. So in this case, they talk about vegetables. It's about 300 grams of vegetables and ranging from 200 to as high as 600 grams. So that's the Mediterranean diet you talk about. The Mediterranean diet is almost this is 7 servings per day. So it comes around 600 grams. So that's the that's the power of consuming a lot of fruits and vegetables for a chronic long-term good health. Of course, they only just, even when you consume that much, it was only 78 kilocalories. So you can clearly see that vegetables are a poor source of calories, but rich source of fiber and other micronutrients. When you talk about fruits, which are a little more costlier than the vegetables, and also, but of course, more tastier. So we are recommending about 200 grams. So the Eat Lancet Commission recommends 200 grams, and it could be from 100 to 300 grams. So there's a lot of flexibility they've given so that we can be adaptable. A person can adopt based on their preferences. You can range. So accordingly, you can tighter your vegetables and fruits so that overall you consume at least 500 grams of fruits and vegetables per day. When you talk about dairy foods, and so when we say dairy foods, so they only have 250 ml. So when we recommended 300 ml for 2,000 kilocalorie plate, so they recommend further less, basically because they recommend all of the animal source protein coming from other sources, especially for the global population. So milk is recommended at 250 ml per day, that is 1 serving. Always remember to have a cup at your home, which is about 250 ml cup. So that is a very good standard portion size. 1 cup, 250 ml, and it is easy for you to calculate all your serving sizes, which I'm going to talk about later. So when I say 250 ml, I believe it is 1 serving of or 1 glass, so which is about 250 ml, and it gives about 153 kilocalories. You talk about protein sources here. For example, in US, you have beef, you have lamb, you have pork, depending on your religion, customs, so and habits we consume. So it's always 0. So it's the starting point is always 0. And is ranged to 28 grams. And of course, meat is about 30 grams per day. So that is 1 serving per day. Eggs, it is about 13 grams per day. So it is roughly not per week. It is not more than 90 grams, or say 1 to 2 eggs per week. That's all they recommend. And fish, you can consume about 30 grams, which is also 1 serving per day. And legumes, they've recommended as high as 75, ranging from 0 to 100. So especially if you're a vegetarian person, you have to consume, when you're not able to consume other source of protein. So legumes contribute a lot of protein. And also they've added nuts in the protein sources because nuts, such as groundnuts, are also rich source of protein. So it's about 50 grams of protein nuts they've recommended per day. And these two also contribute to a lot of energy per calories intake per day. So finally, when you talk about fats, so we have 2 kinds of fats. One is the unsaturated oils and the saturated oils. So fats, so when you say unsaturated oil, so how do you know whether fat is unsaturated or saturated? It is very simple. Keep that fat or oil in the room temperature. If it is liquid, it is unsaturated. If it is solid or semi-solid, it is saturated. For example, you take groundnut oil and if you keep it in the room temperature, it is liquid in nature. You take mustard oil or sunflower oil, they're all liquid in nature. But if you take ghee or you take butter, they're solids. So that's how you remember. So these solid foods, are saturated, and they have to be consumed in restricted to less than 10% of the total calories, because saturated fats have been shown to be increase the risk of chronic disease. Therefore, it's a clear global guideline that saturated fat should be consumed less and unsaturated fat should be consumed more. I'll be talking more about which oil to be consumed a little later, but for now, we say that we have to consume less of saturated fats. And also, they've also added sugars to it, about 30 grams, because of taste, especially when we add sweeteners to our foods. So we do add some sugars. For example, for sweet or tea, we have a habit of adding some sugar. So even though it is not needed, but still not more than 10% of calories should come from added sugars. So they recommend up 30 grams. So when I say 30 grams, 1 teaspoon is 5 grams. So which means that if you're adding 2 teaspoons of sugar in the tea in the morning, so which means you should not be having more than 3 types of tea per day. That's the maximum, and that's it. You should not be taking any of the sweets. So that's how you should remember that it's not more than 3 servings of tea with 2 spoons of sugar. And that's all the sugar you'll have to have for the entire day, and it should not come from other sources. Maybe it's from other sweets. So all this should be avoided. So that's the importance of tea, which contributes to maximum amount of sugar in our daily diet. But if you look at what is being prescribed and what we actually eat, you'll have the reason I'm presenting is because we know that these are the healthy foods, but yet what do common people eat? I mean, we all should always know that where are we lacking? How much are we lacking? So if you look at the first column here, the amount of, this is in urban India. This is the What India Eats report has been talked about. I've been part of this report where we wanted to assess what is being consumed in urban India in the Indian population. So this was done by the National Nutrition Monitoring Bureau in 2016. And we have done this analysis to see what is the contribution of cereals to energy, protein, fat, and carbohydrate in the daily diets. You can see that when we recommend, so it's about 293 grams of cereals being consumed in urban India. So that is what is being consumed. So we consume a little more cereals. That is a major problem. And of course, pulses is about 38 grams. So though we recommend 75 grams or 90 grams, both plates, we still consume about 38 grams. You look at the total energy here, it's about 2000 kilocalories. So this is typical my plate calories on average. And you can see compared to that my plate, we consume less amount of pulses. Fats, we consume adequately, it's 29 grams. Meat, 32 grams is fine. But again, milk is very low, 120 ml per day. So that's the average consumption compared to the recommended 300 ml. Nuts and oil seeds is one fist. So we need to be consuming 30 grams. We only consume 10 grams on average. We talk about fruits and vegetables together. For vegetables and fruits, it's only 140 grams. We should not add roots and tubers here, but vegetables and fruits, it's only 140 grams, which means that compared to 500 grams, we're almost consuming less than 1/3 of what has to be consumed. So clearly, this is the diet of an Indian. And if you want it to be healthy, you need to consume more fruits and vegetables, impure nuts and oil seeds, increase your milk production, and reduce your cereal consumption to have a healthy diet. So this is what we recommended for the urban population. And if you look at the rural India, you can see it is as high as 400 grams. It only shows that the income is a major problem here, because we are consuming more cereals because they're cheaper. The government provides more cereals. At 1 rupees, a lot of rationing happens. So you're consuming more amount of cereals it's mainly because of poverty that we consume more cereals. Again, pulses is 42 grams. Fats and oils is also consumed less. So instead of 30 grams, they consume half of it. So therefore, you have a lot of fatty acid problem. Healthy fats deficiency could be a possibility. And you can see that the consumption of meat, poultry, fish is a little high because of rural India, where there's a lot of access to fish foods and seafoods. So this is high. So at least this part is good in rural India. But if you look at the milk and milk products, again, it is compared to 250 ml for both the plates, is just 117 ml that is being consumed. Nuts, about 1/3 of what is needed. Vegetables and fruits together is just about, despite rural India, when we think about rural India, we think that there's more access to fresh fruits and vegetables because of farmland. No, that's not true. They still consume only about 130 fruits and vegetables per day. So what we can clearly improve is a lot of fruits and vegetable consumption. And this is quite possible. And one of the most healthiest diets is the Mediterranean diets. And they've been recommending seven servings of fruits and vegetables. But we still have to be going that far to improve. Almost 3 to 4 fold consumption has to be there for us to have healthy diets recommended by the Mediterranean diet guides. So now I'll go in depth and give advices, proper practical advices, how you could improve each of the categories. When we talked about 3 categories, we talked about energy-rich foods, we talked about protein-rich foods, we talked about productive foods. Now I'll be talking about the first category, that is the energy-rich foods. So when you talk about energy-rich foods, we use the word moderation. So they have to be consumed in moderation only to fulfill your calorie requirements. That's it. That should be the purpose, and not to take more than what you require. So that's the message we give. Energy-rich foods should be consumed in moderation. So in this case, it is in fact, absence of sugar is good, but low sugar intake, moderate fat intake, and cereal intake to be adequate. So about 250 grams of cereals, about 30 grams of fats. In fact, 0 grams of sugars is quite a possibility if you want to. And when we say the cereals, we say that make half of your grains whole. So when we say whole grains include foods which have the bran, the fiber on the top of it. For example, wheat is a whole grain. But if you take maida, it is not a whole grain. So that's the difference. So you remove the husk from the wheat, it becomes maida. The husk is rich in fiber, micronutrients, polyphenols. That is actually good for chronic health, especially prevents chronic diseases. And of course, parboiled rice and bajra are also whole grain cereals. So this is how you have to consume. So if you're taking grains, and if you're, for example, in South India, which I am from, and some of you are, your main staple is rice. So rice is not whole grain. So if your main staple is rice, then you have to add a lot of other fruits and vegetables or increase your wheat consumption. So that's a key message when we say make half of your grains whole. So because we say whole grains because they provide fiber, they provide micronutrients, which improves gut microbiota. So you have the number of cells in the gut microbiota is actually more than the number of human body cells. So that's what I'm trying to say, that you should keep your gut microbiota healthy so that there's a good symbiosis between you and the outside environment. So this is the gut microbiota that acts as a we talk about prebiotics, we talk about probiotics. This is symbiosis between us and the bacteria that's in the lumen of the gut. So that's how it interacts, and that provides immunity and other health benefits. So that's about whole grains. So again, I said no sugars, keep half of your grains whole. When you talk about oils, so I've told you that it has to be oil, not a fat, that has to be consumed more, because oils are unsaturated and fats are saturated. So that means sunflower oil, rice bran, olive oil, groundnut oil, these are all unsaturated oil, and each oil is very different. So if you're using only one kind of oil, that's also not good. So that's what is the key message I'm giving again. So for example, every day you're going to supermarket, every month you're purchasing only sunflower oil, then you're only going to get PUFA from it. You're not going to get MUFA. So that's the key message. So always change your oil, or you can blend your oils. So, or you can add different oils for different recipes, whatever it is. So be flexible in oils. You have to consume in MUFA is important. PUFA is also important. So PUFA, MUFA together are healthy. So you have to take them. So therefore, for example, groundnut oil is rich in MUFA. Olive oil is rich in DHA. So each oil, and which is good for brain development and your brain function, cognitive function. So in fact, the Mediterranean diet use olive oil. And if you can use olive oil, if cost is not a problem, I would definitely recommend olive oil. That improves your health, and health is wealth. So the amount of money you put there will actually be the dividends of health. You'll get back in the long run. That's what I'm trying to say. Health is wealth. So these are all liquid at room temperature. That's how you identify that these are all good for your health. And we generally say that solid fats to be avoided or take less than 10% of your total calorie intake. For example, for a 2000 kilocalorie intake, it is about 200 kilocalories. That's how 200 kilocalories from solid fats. That is not more. So for example, it's not more than 1 gram of fat gives you around 9 kilocalories. So it would be not more than say 10 to 20 grams of solid fats per day. That's the maximum you can consume. But that also we don't recommend. That's maximum. 10 grams is almost 2 teaspoons. That's it. You have taken your sandwich, put your butter for 2 teaspoons, you're done for the day. So that's what I'm trying to say when you talk about butter, cheese, and ghee. So adding 2 teaspoons on your bread and going for a morning walk or your work, that's bad. If you're taking two, that's all you should be consuming, not coming from pizzas, burgers, and other sources of saturated fat I'm talking about. So that's very important because saturated fats should not be more than 10% of your total calorie intake. So when you talk about, so this is a graph that shows you the fiber content. When I talk about all the kinds of, which foods are much more in fiber, this is an Indian diet, but of course most of you also consume. I believe this is a diet you'll be following in US as well. You can look at the whole wheat flour has about 11 grams of fiber per every 100 grams, which is much more than the rice meal, about 2.8 grams. And if you see, if you're using maida, for example, bread, the white bread is maida, and that's how the white bread is as worse as rice. That's the message I'm trying to give you. Because you're consuming maida, wheat, no, it's almost as you're removing everything. So rice and maida are almost same, 2.8 grams. Parboiled rice is a little better, but still it's almost a little higher. So 75% more fiber. So we definitely recommend anything that is parboiled or whole grains, millets also. In this case, millets, you could see that even look at the bajra. It's almost 11.5 grams more than the wheat flour you have. You have ragi mudde, which is common dish in South India, especially in Karnataka. So ragi is also good in fiber. Jowar is almost good fiber, little millet. So almost all of these millets are much more better than rice. So wheat is also good. For example, wheat is as good as bajra or ragi in terms of fiber. So that's what is the key message I'm trying to give you. So if you're not able to have millets as a source, you can always have wheat to have that fiber content coming from your food. If you look at the pulses, the importance of pulses not only in protein, but you can look at the piece that you have. It's almost 17 grams of fiber. The Bengal gram is also a rich source of fiber. So all pulses are also very rich source of fiber. So therefore, consumption of cereals. So if you're taking just wheat and not taking enough pulses, so you'll also have lower fiber content. So it's important to have a balanced diet that has both cereals and pulses. In a ratio, we recommend it's about 2.5:1. So every 250 grams of cereals, we recommend about 100 grams of pulses, or even 300 grams of cereals, we recommend 3:1, or that's how we recommend that's how we recommended in the RDA. So 3:1 is a good ratio, 300 grams of cereals to 100 grams. That's how we make most recipes, so that the ratio of cereals to pulses is constant. So that's all about the energy-rich foods I've spoken about, and I'll be talking about the protein-rich foods here. If you look at the protein-rich foods, the first is the pulses, the poor man's protein. So when you say pulses, so it's well known that if you consume pulses with cereals, you have good quality of protein rich. For example, cereals are deficient in one amino acid called lysine. The same amino acid is present in good deal in the pulses. So therefore, cereals and pulses when combined improves the quality of protein. So that's the key message again here, why we should consume always. For example, most South Indian delicacies, be it idli, there's a combination of cereals, pulses. You take dosa, there's a cereal pulses, vada. So even upma with nuts. So there's some cereal pulse nut combination. So we have somehow, so you should understand that those recipes are made in the proportion that makes your quality of protein good. So always ensure that when you make those recipes, such as cereal pulse combination is always good. If there's no cereal, add some chutney to it or some other source of protein that comes to you so that you can improve the groundnut chutney or any other chutney you make that improves the protein content. So this is how you should always bridge your cereals and protein content and be cautious. If you're not eating that in the right amounts, it's always bad. So now it's not just how you eat. For example, you're eating morning cereal and evening protein. That's not going to digest in your protein in the appropriate way. So adding cereals and protein in the right recipes will actually boost your amino acid blood levels in a way that keeps your optimal health. So it's not just the meal type of amount you take, how frequently and how in a combination you take is also critical to get a healthy response to your food that you consume. Pulses not only are rich in protein, I've shown you fiber, but they're very good B complex vitamins, and it's very important. The thiamine can be quickly depleted. Thiamine deficiency can quickly happen if you stop taking pulses and taking, especially the part of the what we call the milled rice. if all the rice, all the thiamine is present in the rice, if you're a South Indian person and you're taking only just rice and forgetting pulses in the diet, then you're quickly going to develop thiamine deficiency. This typically happens in North Indian states, Northeast Indian states, where where rice is a staple diet and most of the rice is being milled. Because of excessive milling, there's a lot of thiamine deficiency happening in those regions. So if you're from Northeastern states, then you should always believe that add some pulses into your diet to improve your thiamine, riboflavin, which are this is the commonest deficiency you see in India. The riboflavin deficiency is the most commonest B complex deficiency. When I say why it is common, you have to understand B complex vitamins are water soluble, which means that if you're not taking for a week, your body is going to get depleted of it. It's very important that you understand that the first vitamin that is going to get depleted in fasting is the B complex vitamin, because they are water soluble. So because it is water soluble, the body cannot store it in the body. For example, vitamin A. So you talk about different vitamins. Vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin and it can be stored in the body. Vitamin D is a fat soluble. E and K, they're all fat soluble. They can be stored in the body. But B complex are water soluble, which means there's no place to store in the body. Fat can be stored, but not water. Water is always excreted from the urine. So they're quickly depleted from the body. So the first deficiency happens as early as 1 week. If you're not able to take proper B complex in your food, within 1 week, the symptoms start showing up. So it's very important to always have B complex vitamins, especially in terms of crisis when you are not having enough food at home. So therefore, in all the government hospitals, you see that the B complex vitamins are the most commonly available or the OTC pill, because that's the one thing that is getting quickly depleted in the case of fever. When you have fever, you don't eat well, so the B complex vitamins get quickly depleted. So be very cautious with your B complex vitamins. They can affect you a lot, especially thiamine deficiency can lead to very infantile beriberi, especially if you're lactating woman who is giving milk to your infant without thiamine. Your infant starts developing cardiac beriberi, or if you're old person, you're not taking enough thiamine, you'll get peripheral neuropathy. So it's very important to have a good diet which is rich in pulses. So pulses, there's an advantage of pulses as a protein source, because in India, milk is perishable, eggs are also semi-perishable, and you take out meat is perishable, but not pulses. Pulses can be stored for a long period of time. So in the times of crisis, especially during the lockdowns, so this is one thing you can have storages, and you can, when food shortages happen, this is the best protein source you can always revert back to. That's the reason why the government programs still give pulses in the PDS or the ICDS programs. So now we talk about I've spoken about the pulses. The second is milk, because this is the next common milk. Most vegetarians consume milk, so it's also rich in protein and it's more bioavailable. So when you talk about protein, so people ask me whether that's enough for us. So especially for children, that's not enough. Cereal pulses is just not enough. You need to add milk to it. Some extent of milk is to be added. At least 10%. They say that 10% milk protein has to be added to infant formulas for all children, malnourished children, because milk provides quality protein. So when I say quality, it is not. The pulses and cereals, even though they give good quality protein, they don't get digested well in the stomach, especially in the ileal region where it needs to be absorbed. So they're not very good quality proteins. Even you combine, you have to have some amount of milk to improve the real digestibility. To improve the digestibility, always add some amount of milk. Milk not only provides protein, but also provides calcium. So especially for postmenopausal women where you require more calcium and improve bone density, milk is a good source of calcium. So it's a very good source of calcium. As of course, ragi is also a good source of calcium, but milk's calcium is more bioavailable compared to ragi and other vegetable calcium. Next is we talk about meat. So this is the third protein-rich foods. We talked about pulses. We talked about milk. Now we're talking about meat, fish, and so in this case, we say to avoid red meat. Now, how do you know what is red meat? How do you know what is a lean meat? So you know that people say to avoid red meat, but how do you know it's a red meat? It's about the color, but it's mostly about the mammalian meat. Any meat coming from a mammal is a red meat. For example, you take goat is a mammal, so therefore mutton is a red meat. You take what cow is a mammal, so all mammalian meats, sheep, buffalo, cow, all of them are red meat because they're mammalian meats. You talk about chicken. Chicken is hen. Hen is a bird. Fish is not a mammal. clearly. It's in own group. So this is how you know that which is mammalian meat, which is red meat. So any red meat has to be avoided because red meat is rich source of saturated fat. So therefore, it is more at risk of chronic disease. So always replace your red meat with fish and lean meat. So there's a big, largest, there's a big prospective study happening presented in the Eat Lancet Commission report. And they've shown that if you're having a vegetarian diet, you had 12% overall mortality risk compared to omnivores, those who eat all the other foods. But it's very interesting to also note that the lowest risk was actually among the pescatarian diets. Pescatarians are nothing but those who consume only fish. So fish, so compared to vegetarian diet, you add fish to it, it improves your risk, it further lowers your risk. That's what is the key message I'm trying to give, especially the Japanese population. They have such a huge longevity. One of the best, one developed country which has the longest longevity is the Japan, and there's a lot of success stories there where they consume a lot of fish as a major source of protein. You can see that eggs are also important, especially in the context of government programs where this is the only good quality protein that can be given to children. Especially we talk about milk being contaminated, there's reports of diarrhea, but not egg. Egg is very safe. Usually more, the less infections coming from egg than milk given in the program. So therefore, most government programs give eggs for children especially. So therefore, each one has their own benefits. So it's a combination. So you have to put your wisdom in choosing what is ideal for your population at that context. It is always context specific. So there has been some reports, especially in Telangana, that when you consume chicken or fish, you're going to get more COVID-19 infection. Thinking that it's a bird flu. People had that opinion that because it came from bird, it is you take that, you'll get more infection. It's of course not true now. We all know that, but there was some lot of hysteria happening and people were not consuming flesh foods, but that's actually a myth. And therefore, but these foods are very important. Taking good quality protein during the time of illness fastens your recovery, especially taking milk or taking other and eggs, especially, or they improve your protein, amino acids and immunity. Therefore, they are very important during infection, and the recovery is much more faster if you take at least milk or eggs or other foods that can improve your immune system. That's all about the protein-rich foods. So we've spoken about all the 5 categories. Now I'll be talking about the last category, that is the protective foods. So protective foods. So when you talk about protective foods, we use the word liberally. That is the key message here. So when you talk about energy-rich foods, we talk about moderation. When you talk about protein-rich foods, we talk about adequately. When you talk about protective foods, you talk about liberally. So these are the 3 different words we use for 3 different kinds of foods. So that's what you need to remember. This is the best food. When you say liberally, you can consume as much. Of course, if you're diabetic, be careful about some foods which is a high glycemic index, but fruits and vegetables are a rich source of fiber, antioxidants, minerals, and other vitamins. So there are different kinds of fruits and vegetables, and I'll be talking one by one and how much to be consumed. So for the first is, of course, dark green leafy vegetables. That's what we say. So dark green leafy vegetables are rich in 3, especially these are the public health problem nutrients in India. That is vitamin A, iron, and calcium. So you add zinc, and that's it. Most of the dark green leafy vegetables cover 3 of the most common public health problems in India. Therefore, consumption of green leafy vegetables improve your vitamin A content, iron, and calcium. So that's the importance of dark green leafy vegetables in your diet. So when you talk about yellow colored foods, they are rich source of vitamin C. So all citrus fruits are rich source of vitamin C. A key point of vitamin C is that when you add to your diet, and especially when you add to your meal, it improves your iron absorption as high as 5-fold. It's very powerful improver of iron absorption. That's the key message I'm trying to give here. That when you add vitamin C, for example, you add lemon to your food, or take citrus fruit such as orange after food, the iron content of the food is almost enhanced. The absorption is enhanced by almost 5 times. It's unbelievably high. So if you are suffering from iron deficiency, this is the best source of food, common natural food that I would recommend to improve iron absorption. Especially you have low hemoglobin and you have low blood count, that's where we recommend vitamin C to be added to your diet to improve your iron, because 50% of low blood count is because of iron deficiency in India. I'm sure that it's most in most countries, in developed countries as well. So Yellow colored fruits are also rich source of carotene, that is vitamin A. For example, papaya, mango, or carrot, they're all rich source of vitamin A. So these are natural antioxidants. So while vitamin C is a water-soluble antioxidant, vitamin A is a fat-soluble antioxidant. So these are antioxidants that can improve your longevity and aging. So when you talk about antioxidants, they destroy all the free radicals and keep your it is like your traffic. When you have a lot of traffic, they come and reduce the traffic. So there's a lot of calmness when you take this food in the blood systems. They get all the free radicals get calmer. So this is how I would liken the use of these antioxidants in your blood and your body. So how much to consume? I mean, that's how do you remember how much to consume? So it's very simple. When I say how much to remember, I always show them your hand. If you show your hand, you have 5 fingers. That's how you need to remember. You need to consume 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. That's very simple to remember. Always keep your hand in front of you and see how many fingers are there. That's how you remember. In old age, especially, it's very important we forget. So just see your hand and see how much time. That's how you remember the visual cues you get from your hand. That is 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. So when you talk about one serving, how much is one serving? It is roughly about 80 to 100 grams. A lot of studies have shown that that is how people have been defining that it's about 80 to 100 grams is one serving. So now let us talk in terms of normal foods, what the normal fruits and vegetables we consume, how much is equal to that. It's very simple to remember if you follow what I'm trying to say here. All medium-sized fruits, for example, banana is very common. You always see a banana or apple, orange. That's it. That is an equal to one serving. That's how you remember all medium-sized fruits is equal to one serving. So one orange is one serving, one apple is one serving, one banana is one serving. So which means if you're if you're eating, if you're eating only half an apple per day, it's only half serving per day. You have to eat one full apple to have one serving. Now, how do you remember for green leaf vegetables? So in this case, I always ask the mothers to actually have a 250 ml cup. So the 250 ml cup is a standard cup for all, not only for fruits and green leaf vegetables, for milk, anything. So 250 ml cup. And when you chop your green leaf vegetables and you put it in the cup, 250 ml cup, and fill it to the brim. So because there's a lot of air space, we say that 1 cup of green leaf vegetables is equal to 1 serving. So that is the reason. If you you remove all the airspace, then again half cup is enough. But if you're not removing airspace, just chopping the green leaf vegetables and putting in the cup, then 1 cup is equal to 1 serving. For all the fruits and vegetables, you just cut them and take it half cup. All half 250 ml cup, that's it. That is 1 serving. So that's how you remember all other fruits and vegetables. Half cup is equal to 1 serving. So for example, you have papaya or you cut them into half cup. So that's 1 serving. You've taken watermelon, you chop them again, put it in 1 serving. So that's how you can easily remember and have your daily fruits and vegetable consumption. So having a metric will help you to understand the amount of fruits and vegetables you can eat. And that's very simple. Of course, so we still recommend 5, if you take 5 servings that way, it will be still, if the minimum would be 400 grams, the maximum would be 500 grams. So remember that you have to take even 7 to 8 servings per day to have a proper Mediterranean diet, especially if you have chronic illness such as hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol. The Mediterranean diet is the best diet in the world. They recommend almost 7 to 8 servings. If you're able to consume 7 to 8 fruits and vegetables a day, definitely your health will be much more better. So this is what we recommend. And again, so it has to be colored. So different colors have different properties. They are rich in polyphenols. So always have a wide variety of colors, not just one color restrict, because each color food is because of those nutrients, especially the polyphenols that add to the color and that improves your reduces the risk of chronic disease. So that's how you remember. So how do you remember nuts and oils? I already told you before, but simple. You take your hand and just close it. So whatever that, so you take your hand, put it in the container and take, for example, groundnuts and just hold it. 1 fist is equal to 1 serving. That's it. You need to consume at least 1 serving of nuts and seeds per day. So you can take it 1 serving, put it in your big Ziploc cover, eat the whole day. That's 1 serving per day. That's it. Not more than 1 serving. So that's what we recommend. It's very simple to remember. 1 fistful of nuts. So that's how we recommend nuts and oil seeds. So this is the third category I have been talking about, is about the protective foods. So how much water we need to consume? So again, people always ask the amount of water that needs to be consumed and also the amount of salt. So salt is to be consumed not more than 5 grams of salt. So less than 5 grams is what we recommend. That is 1 teaspoon. So that means there should be no table salt on your table. That's the definition of not less than 5 grams, because you add some salt to your curries. So therefore, don't add table salt. Then it's still good. The average consumption in India is about 8-9 grams per day. So we consume almost twice what is recommended. And especially if you have hypertension, you reduce your sodium content to less than 5 grams. And always choose iodized salt, because iodine deficiency is we do not know its problems, but once upon a time it was a huge problem, and because of iodization, it's one of the most successful stories of fortification. Iodized salt is always considered the hallmark of success of fortified programs in the world, and has reduced a lot of mental retardation. I mean, you talk about goiter, but it's the mental retardation that is the lower part of the iceberg that it has prevented. So we have improved our IQ levels without us knowing about. So that's the power of fortified foods, especially the iodized salt. So we recommend water at 30 ml per kg body weight. So which means it is about, for 60 kg old, it is about roughly about 1.8 or 2 liters per day. That's what, or 8 to 10 glasses. One glass is about 200 ml. So roughly around 8 to 10 glasses per day of water you need to consume. So remember, the water content should be 30 ml per kg body weight, or about 2 liters per day. That's how you can remember, or 10 glasses of water. So you can just show your 2 hands. So 5 for fruits and vegetables, 2 hands for glasses. That's how you remember the fruits to drink water every day. And be careful not to consume too much caffeine. We are all used to it for our work, but still not too much caffeine, especially in the night. If you're having it, it should be in the morning. And of course, do not take other fruit concentrates, which is sugar. So please check. It's not, if you say that you're consuming juices, but it is a lot of sugar, it is as good as consuming a sugar-rated beverage. There's not much benefit of adding, but consuming fruits if you're adding a lot of sugar to your fruit juices. That's the message I'm trying to give it here. And ensure consumption of clean foods. When you talk about fruits and vegetables, because of the way they are grown, always soak them, clean them, and only then consume them. It is important to handle them well for us to have healthy food, especially green leafy vegetables, because they're grown in the soil. We need to clean them, wash them properly to remove all the soil and other elements that's coming. You have new techniques called aeroponics, hydroponics. So if you're taking that foods, there's no problem because there's no soil to it. So it is much more easier to eat. So when you talk about, we talk about what kind of food, how much to be taken, what is to be taken. Now, how frequently has to be taken is what I'm trying to tell here. And when you talk about meals and snacks, so we always say 3 meals and 2 snacks. So always keep your meals lighter. It's very important that as you grow down the day, the heaviest meal should be the morning meal, and the smallest meal should be your evening meal. So you should bridge down your meal so that you work in the morning, your glucose levels are good in the morning. After lunch, glucose, you still need to work till the evening, so you still need to have good lunch. But in the night, you need to consume less carbohydrate. That's the message I'm trying to give you. Consume less carbohydrate meal in the night. So always shift high carbohydrate meal in the morning and more protein rich meal in the night rather than high carbohydrate meal. Because if you're taking more carbohydrates in the night, then whatever is happening is not going to be metabolized, because the next activity you're going to go is to sleep. So there's no physical activity for you to maintain your blood levels to normal, glucose levels to normal. So therefore, your blood glucose shoots up in the night, and therefore there's a risk of increased chronic disease. So snacks, the best way is always to choose raw fruits and vegetables. If you're going to office, have a fruit with you every time you go. Wherever you walk, have a fruit or a nut. So if you're going for a long drive, say, take some nuts and fruits. That's it. Those are the snacks. One serving of nuts and 2 to 3 servings of fruits and vegetables while you go, and that's the fun you can have. I think that it should be a habit. I think it comes from habit of packing your daily food, making your daily routines well. That's how you actually improve them. So it's not just about learning, but making a habit, making your timetable, making your purchases well in the order that you feel, it's an investment. See, people talk about investing in share markets or stock markets, but investing in your own health is very important. That's it's so that health again is wealth. So when you talk about outside foods, no, the outside foods, again, we always say they're junk foods because we call them now HFSS foods. HFSS stands for high in fat, high in salt, and high in sugar. F for fat, SS for salt and sugar. So high in fat, salt, or sugar. So these are all the ultra processed foods, chips, ice cream, sugars. So more or less, these are on an average, urban consumes about 120 grams of them. So it's a lot. So we should be very, because this is what gives craving to us. Chips give craving, ice creams give us craving. So we eat them more. So it's about the craving that needs to be adopted. So I think it's about how you make your lifestyle and how you make your choices that determines, and it's your willpower that determines whether you eat these foods or not. So when you talk about so balanced diet is not just about diet, it's also about physical activity. So physical activity is very important for your bone, muscle, heart, lung health, your weight. So it's very important to have good physical activity. And so especially, in COVID times where you had no other option but to stay at home. So I think especially for elderly, the best exercise people recommend is walking. If you're able to walk, that's enough. And brisk walk, it's the best exercise you can have for old age people. You just have to walk. When I say brisk walking, it means that when you walk a little faster, your legs are a little wider. That is 1 yard apart. So if you're talking on the phone and you're walking, that's a very slow walk. That's not called brisk walk, and it does not come under physical activity at all. So when you do brisk walk for half an hour, at the end of half an hour, you feel your heart pulsating, and you feel that your heart is beating a little faster. That's how we remember that. That's how you should remember that the brisk walking happens. So if your heart is beating faster, you have done good physical activity at the end of half an hour. So you have to put your both feet 1 yard apart when you walk. That's how you remember to do brisk walk. And we recommend 30 minutes of physical activity each day for a period of 5 days. So 150 minutes of physical activity every week. So you have 2 rest days. That's good. You have still 2 days. So if you're busy, so make sure that you work on Saturdays. So again, it is your diary, how you fill your diary with your physical activity, your diet. You need to plan your diary well to have the proper physical activity every day. So make sure that it's about the proper planning. If you're proper planning, the best ways is to join some group which has yoga. And this is one group you have where you've been counseling about. It's a good group you already have. So be with the group and have some time of physical activity. I think before I came, there was a good song. I think an aerobic dancing song must have been done before. I'm sure that the group has already planned. So me not saying it would, I already believe you're practicing it. So I do recommend that scene that have some good aerobic dancing or any dancing for the matter. For it gives not only good physical activity, it gives you good respite to your brain and have a good laugh about the song as well. So if you want to reduce weight, we recommend 60 minutes of physical activity. So if you think that your weight is more than and if you're a child, we recommend 60 minutes of physical activity per day because children need more physical activity than men for adults. So that's what it is. So it is 60 minutes for children, and even for people who are obese, we recommend 60 minutes if you're planning to lose weight. So when you say losing weight, so we should not lose weight suddenly. We should lose weight gradually. Anything that is gradual is going to stay. Anything that is sudden is again going to be rebound. So it is again your daily practice routine. Have a diary with you and keep your goals very clear. It's about your will that actually determines how you consume food and your physical activity as well. So how much should be your ideal BMI? And I've told you before that it's a very simple formula. It is weight in kilos by height in meter square. For example, here I'm going to, for example, if your weight is 45 kilos, I would put 45 in the numerator. And for example, your height is only 150 centimeters. I'll say 1.5 meters. So 45 by 1.5 into 1.5. So that's how we calculate the BMI. So if it is less than 18.5, we call it chronic energy deficiency. If it is more than 25, it is called obesity. So keep your BMI between. So that's a very simple indicator. As long as if you're around 24, you should start kicking in your diary, your protocols has to be, there has to be an alarm. 25, 26, 27, alarm has to be coming in your mind. So which means that because what happens after 30 is that after 40, the chance of getting reversed is very low. That is called morbidly obese, and it's a vicious cycle. because you're depressed, you're hungry, you eat more, you eat. So it is from 25 to 30 is the alarm bell should start in your brain that no, that something is, I have to do work about it. So no matter what other people say, have your willpower, and you have to have that willpower to ensure that you always have the right BMI at every age. So 18.5 to 25 is the ideal BMI, and this is where we need to be staying most of our life. And the only vitamin that comes from sunlight is the vitamin D. And for example, the reason the northern atmosphere, they're lighter, when you call about the Caucasians who are white people, we call them, that's what we call, it is because the access to sunlight is so low. So the body is trying to get rid of all the melanin in the pigment. So they get hyperpigmented so that all the vitamin D can go into the body. So that's how important vitamin D is. So if you're not having enough sunlight exposure, you're not going to get vitamin D in the sunlight, if you're not staying outside. So have some exposure to sunlight the morning, especially at noon time. If you're doing it at noon time, even it's I would say 15 minutes is good enough. You just need to have a small itch when you're standing in the sun. That's enough. If you don't feeling burning sensation, then that's not good for you. If you're not feeling any sensation, that's also not good for you. You have to feel some amount of light coming on your body. Then you feel that you've got enough sun exposure. That's how, like walking, when you have that heart rate raising, you had enough walk. For sunlight also, there has to be slight itch. Your body should say, now come, okay, let's go inside. That message has to come to your body. So that's how you remember that you got enough sun exposure from the body. Again, physical activity is important. Similarly, sleeping is also very important. 8 hours of sleep is what we recommend. So it is always person to person. Some sleep 7, it is 7 to 9 is what people recommend. So that's how the guidelines are, 7 to 9 hours. On average, 8 hours of good sleep. And sleep is very important. Sleeping at night is especially important to have your circadian rhythm going on, or else it will cause haywire to your whole systems. So my final conclusion is that don't be undernourished, don't be overnourished, especially in the times of COVID, because it increases your severity of infection, illness, mortality, morbidity. And have a balanced diet. I've spoken about in length, I hope, and also physical activity, which is the cornerstone for good health. With this, I conclude my talk, and I'm free to take any questions. And I hope I was audible the whole time. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Really, it was a wonderful session. You gave so much of information and knowledge to our seniors. I hope, is there any other questions, or like we can wind up? Any questions? Please unmute yourself and you can ask. Oh, it looks like no one has any questions. Dr. Rao, like you have anything to, you wanted to share something you want to share?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a minute.
Sorry.
There are too many screens, so I'm closing some. So just a couple of seconds and all I wanted to show is the 40. He said that there are pulses that you have to eat. And we have 40 different pulses, which you have seen before. But I want to remind you once again. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
So there are 40 different pulses. And in New York, you can buy most of them because most of our pulses come from Canada. That's all.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Please share this slide, picture with us. We'll announce it.
Very good piece of information, sir.
You have this picture, right?
No, I don't think so. We haven't shared.
Okay, I'll share it again.
Yeah, please.
How do I send it to you?
You can WhatsApp me, like I'll share it with our group.
Sure, I'll send it as a WhatsApp.
Sure. Thank you
That's
so
all.
much. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Dr. Mamdi, Srishwan Mamdi. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.